this nation needs to get back to being sold out. We have treated God almost as an afterthought. You know, it's, oh yeah, we're going to show up on Sunday. Oh yeah, we got churches on every corner. But we also got mosques in every city. You ever notice that? You cannot go to Saudi Arabia and build a church. You know why? Even though that it is a demonic God they serve. Folks, that they truly believe that he's God. And they won't allow churches to be built. And we do it all in the name of tolerance. Folks, there is no tolerance with sin, for sin. Where did Jesus ever say be tolerant with sin? Be tolerant with the devil. Somebody got to stand for the truth. And it's not popular and it's liable to get you locked up. But that's all right. That's okay. When I was out there in sin, you know, I took a risk of getting locked up just about every Friday night. But you know what? Locked up for Jesus ain't a bad place to be. But it's time that we did sell out. Sell out to him every day. Every day. Not be playing with those things that is not of him, but get a hold of him and learn to trust him. And it's a learning process, folks. It's something that we learn more every day about. You know, sometimes I think we get to feeling like, I got it now. You know, I got a hold on it. No, we don't. No, we don't. We ain't saw what's coming tomorrow. And I'm going to tell you, this road of life that we're on, when you can't see on the road that you're running on, you better have a hold of somebody that can see it. See, I can't see tomorrow. So I hold of Jesus because I know he can. I don't know how many days that any of us got left here on earth, but I know one thing. There's not many days left till Jesus gets back. And that's, you know, I used to kid folks say, you know, I want to find a grave plot that I could rent just in case I died before the rapture. Because I wouldn't be there long enough to buy it. I mean, you know, for to own it, I don't need to own it. I just need to rent it for a few days. Because time is short now. We'll start off this morning, and we ask that you continue to pray for us. We talk to you just a little bit. I'm kind of short breath this morning, weak in body a little bit, but hey, the Spirit is still strong. God is still strong. In 1 Kings, the 18th chapter, we find the story of God's prophet Elijah that God sent to Israel. And you know, Israel, we could look at Israel and we can see how this same Spirit works over and over and over. God would send revival in Israel, and he would send a godly leader, and Israel would become strong in him, and God would begin to bless. And as soon as that happened, folks, they begin to kind of get relaxed in the blessings of God and allow things to start creeping in. And at the time of Elijah, Israel hadn't just said, we're no longer worshiping God. They just began to, as America had, they just began to allow the people of Baal to build altars to Baal in the nation of Israel, to build houses of worship. Folks, we look at that, we say, oh, well, you know, that's being tolerant. I want you to look and see if you can find where God said tolerant anywhere in the Bible with anything except what he said. Look, he is either God or he's not. And so that's what Elijah was facing. And he came to the people of Israel, and he gathered the prophets of Baal. And in verse 21 he said this, and Elijah said unto all the people, how long halt you between two opinions? If the Lord be God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. And the people answered him not a word. Elijah didn't just hit them with a bunch of accusations. He just said, hey, if God's God, let's find out who he is. Let's follow him. And if Baal's God, let's follow him. But get off the fence. That's exactly what he was saying. Get off the fence. Don't be hanging on to one and turn around hanging on to another. He called them to task without bringing a fiery accusation. He just said, you choose. You figure it out. And the problem is today, folks, we hadn't figured it out. Can we just call it like it is? God is a head belief and not a heart knowledge. In too many places, folks. Oh, yeah, I believe in God. But the life doesn't measure up to what the mouth is saying. Too many folks show up on Sunday. Jesus is not a Sunday God. He's an every day, every minute, every second God, or he's no God at all in your life. But Elijah said, hey, get off the fence and let's do something. If God's God, let's just serve him. And if he's not, let's find out who he is. And see, we've come to a place in America and in the churches, by and large, where evidence doesn't really matter. It's what we decide to believe. You never noticed that? I hear politicians talking, and they'll come out with all this trash. No evidence, but it's what they want you to believe. And we're in a place where we have allowed the spirit of Satan to get so strong that he's trying to mold every aspect of life in this nation. Have you ever noticed that? You turn your television on and you can see exactly what he's trying to mold, because even in the advertisements you see it. Homosexuality is upheld. And let me say this. I know a lot of folks will holler racist, but it's look how many, you watch the advertisements. It's mixed races. They want to sell that. And I don't care, folks, about the color of a man's skin or a woman's skin. It's the condition of the heart. It's the condition of the soul. But don't allow somebody else to mold what you think and what you believe and what you're going about doing. And let me tell you this. Jesus didn't die for skin. He died for souls. So, but today, everything, if you disagree with anything that the devil brings up, you're a racist. You notice that? No evidence, but you're just a racist. Trump's called a racist over and over and over again. A racist. But yet he's done more for the minorities in this country than any president before him that I can remember. But just because they call him a racist, I told somebody the other day, I said, I've heard that accusation racist so much that now when I see it, when I hear somebody say racist, I put the story immediately on the same level as Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster. It's just nothing. True racist is being overlooked because everything's racist. There's racist behind every tree. That's what the devil wants you to believe and to see, folks. It's because he wants to divide and conquer. He knows that's a great strategy, to divide and conquer. But the Christians, it don't seem like we know it. We're all right with being divided, but we shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. But we find too many standing on that same foundation. Jesus is Lord on Sunday, as it was in the time of Elijah. He's Lord on Sunday, but the rest of the week, you can't tell it by the actions of the people. You see the same folks in the bars on Friday night as you see in the churches on Sunday. Tell me if I'm wrong. And hey, and don't get me wrong, if you're on bars on Friday night, I want you here on Sunday. But I want you to sell out to Jesus. Hey, the devil wants you to look at no further than where you're at right now. He wants you to see no circumstance further than what you are right now. And what he does, he shows you what fun you can have right here and right now at the moment. He never shows you the end. It's time that we stop wherever we're at, all of us are to say, now, this path that I have chosen, this way that I have taken, what's going to be the end result? Because all the devil can offer you is a hole in the ground. That's it. You're working your way to a hole in the ground. All of us. But Jesus has conquered death. Jesus offers you life. And even if this body lays down, has nothing to do with the life that he has given me. Do you understand? If you know Jesus, you are eternal right now. Right now. He didn't, you have eternal life. So whatever this body does doesn't mean anything to your life. Because when that trumpet sounds, if you're asleep in Jesus, or if you're walking around here in this body, in a moment, everything will change. And you will be with him. And you will be as he is. But I see all the time, I've got that little Facebook page, and I see all the time, you'll see one post where somebody is praising Jesus, and the next post will be filled with all kind of crude and vulgarity language. Well, let me tell you something about being sold out to Jesus. Sold out to Jesus means the old man's dead. And we can't resuscitate him every few minutes and think the new man's going to live there. Problem is the old man hadn't died in a lot of folks. They just took him to church. Just took the old man to church. He's still very much alive. But the new man is sitting somewhere in the corner trying to become alive. But folks, unless the old man is dead, the new man's not living in you. He's not living in me unless the old man is dead. See, Being born again means exactly that. Born by the Spirit of the living God. Born back in the same place that Adam was before sin entered. Born again as a son of God. You know, in the natural, somebody come along and, you know, your child, they say, he's going to be just like you. It makes you feel good, you know. Should anyway. So God looks at us, and when he hears that, folks saying, hey, you know what? I can tell who their father is. It makes him feel good, folks. And people should be able to see Jesus in us. You can't keep him hid if he's in there. Because he'll come out. And me and Bo were talking this morning about where he said some guy had told him that unless the message was real deep and all and getting into deep things, it just didn't move him anymore. He was tired of hearing about the love of God and all this. He wanted some deep things. Let me tell you something, folks. If it don't start with the love of God, I don't care what else you know, you've missed the boat. It's about the love of God, and if you love God, you'll love people. And until the church's heart gets broken again for lost souls, folks, we're never going to operate in the power of God that he has for us. Hearts ought to be broke for people that's lost. I'm not talking about, well, I'm just glad to see you in church. Our hearts ought to be crushed because knowing, hey, hell is a real place. And you don't hear me say much about hell because I don't want nobody going there. I'd much rather tell you what a wonderful place heaven's going to be than I had to tell you about hell. But hell is a reality, folks. And you can go there. God doesn't want you to go there. And he gave everything he had to keep you out, but we can go. But there's just one way to heaven. And you can be tolerant if you want to. You can fall in with what the world has if you want to. When it's all said and done, still the truth. One way to heaven, and his name is Jesus. It's not Allah, it's not Buddha, it's not Hinduism, it's not the New Age junk. It's Jesus. Because when God told Adam that sin would kill him, look at the graveyards, folks, and see if he's right or wrong. Look at the evidence. The graveyards is full of dead people, because of sin. Hey, God told him the truth. And the devil will come along now, again, trying to, and he wants you to deny Jesus long enough to kill you. It's not that he cares anything about you, showing you what fun you can have. It's not that the devil loves you, carrying you out to exciting places. He wants you away from Jesus long enough to kill you. That's his goal, because in his mind, you are in his place in this universe. Because what caused the rebellion and the fall, he was here before Adam, and he was to lead all creation in praise. But when he found out Adam was coming, a man after God's image and in God's likeness, he began to rebel because he said, no, that's supposed to be me. And you can see that spirit in man today. Hey, let me be exalted. It's tore down a lot of churches, Brother Mike, with a man in the pulpit saying, hey, it's about me. Look what I've done. And sometimes, they look very successful in the world's eyes. But it's all about the man in the pulpit. And I'm working on an old song called I Want to Take Me to the Church Where Jesus Goes. And that's where I want to be. I want to be where Jesus goes, where Jesus is pleased with the people there. But in Luke, the 6th chapter, and the 46th verse, Jesus kind of said asked the same thing that Elijah did, only in a different vein. He said this, why call ye me, Lord, Lord, and do not the things which I say? The implication of that is said, I'm not your Lord unless you're walking in what I told you. And I've told you a lot of times, the big thing going around today in church, and it gathers folks in, and it's a false doctrine. Too many people think, well, I have to sin. And so, and it's taught from the pulpit. Everybody's got to sin. Everybody's sinning every day. Well, after a while, folks begin to think, well, I got to sin anyway, so I'm just going to pick me out something I love to do. I'm just going to do that. I ain't fighting against sin. I'm just going to do that. No, sin will kill you, folks. Sin will kill you just as much if you go to church every Sunday and still sinning. You're still dying. Sin still kill you. The wages are still the same, whether you're saved or not saved, whether you You confess to know Jesus or not, sin will still destroy you. It always has. You know, I told you a story one time. I was working down at Newberry years ago, and I worked with this little fella that was a deacon, and he talked to me about Jesus all the time. And one day he told me, I asked him how many kids he had. And I think he had 5 at home or 3 at home, and 3 or 5 outside children. I said, outside children? I said, what is that? He said, oh, me and my girlfriend's got several, whatever it was, 3 or 5. I said, I thought you was a deacon in the church. He said, oh, I am. But he said, God allows some things. He said, you know, everybody sins, so that's what I like to do. So he just picked him out one that he liked, and he embraced it. He wasn't trying to be free from sin, because somebody had told him he couldn't be free from sin. Let me tell you this morning, you can be free. You can be free indeed. You can be sold out to Jesus to the point to where you can learn to trust him whatever is happening. Yes, there's things that happen that I don't understand. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that I understand everything that happens, because I don't, but I understand this. Through everything that happens in this fallen creation, he's still God, and I trust him, and I'm learning to trust him more. But Jesus said, why are you even calling me Lord if you're not going to do what I said? In John 8:47, he said this, he that is of God, now take this in, he that is of God hears God's words. He said, he was talking to the Pharisees and the people, he said, you don't hear them because you're not of God. Now, that's pretty plain, isn't it? He that hears God's words is of God, and he that doesn't isn't of God. So that'll kind of knock out all that. I'm a pretty good fella, I'm going to heaven, won't it? He said, if you're of God, you go hear what he said, and that's talking about not just hearing him in the ear, that's talking about lining yourself up with what God said. In John 3:21, he said, he that does the truth comes to the light, that his deeds might be manifest, that they are wrought in God. If we're truly desiring to please God, his words will be something that we will want to know about, won't it? I want to know all I can find out about God and about his words, about his promises. But when we get to where, you know, we're afraid to look in the Word, afraid that we'll find something we'll have to change in our life, folks, we got a problem. We got a problem. Either we are, no man can serve 2 masters. Jesus said that too. So it is time to sell out. It's past time that the church is sold out and got back to what thus says the Word of God. Sin hadn't changed, and the penalty of sin hadn't changed, folks. But God so loved us that he promised us a way out. And because Jesus died on that tree, does not mean everybody's going. I heard a preacher, you know, I think I said something about it here a while back. I heard a preacher said, oh, God's going to save everybody. He's even going to save the devil. He would if he could. But you know what? He put man in dominion, and he gave us a choice. The Bible tells me he's not willing that any should perish. People's dying lost every day. So what is that? That's because they're not willing to accept life, folks. Where they lay Christ aside. There is no life anywhere except Christ. There is a physical existence. And you've heard me say this a lot of times. All the life that we have here in the physical is just a chemical existence. We have to have air. We have to have food. The temperature has to be right, folks, or we'll die. We'll die. You know, you just decide, well, you know, I don't want to breathe. Hold your breath and see how long it lasts. That's right. You'll fall over in a few minutes because we are a chemical, we're just in a chemical existence. Real life, folks, doesn't have to have any of that. Right. You know, Jesus ain't up there this morning hungry. He's not in heaven hungry. He's not in heaven tired. You know why? Because he is life. And it's the God life, and God has offered us the God life. And when this old body lays down, folks, the new body won't need any of this stuff that we have to have here to live. It will be life within itself because God has given it. The cross brought us life, folks, and what an awful price to pay so that we can have it free. But judgment's shaking the world, folks, and it really is. And so many folks does not see it because they have chose to close their eyes to the what is happening around them. Earthquakes is going all over the world. Now, if you go down to the ocean and get in the ocean, you're liable to come out with a flesh-eating disease that'll kill you. Our waters is filled with stuff that kills us. Our air is filled with stuff that's killing us. They put stuff in our food that kills us. There's threat of war everywhere. The signs that Jesus gave for his soon coming is all in the Bible. What evidence do you have that says he's not soon coming? What evidence do you have that says you've got plenty of time? You better check the evidence, folks, because time is running out. The choice today is my choice and your choice. We can choose who we will serve. But the time will come where that choice will no longer be ours, folks. On God's calendar, time is about to run out, and we're creatures caught in time. That's not good for the physical. It's good for the spiritual, because when time runs out, eternity begins, and the choice will be out of our hands then. Today is the day that we make the choice on whether or not we serve God or we serve Baal. In those days, Elijah's days, it was Baal. Today, it's just Satan, period. And so many things, but we don't associate false gods with serving the devil. But let me tell you something. If there is but one God, and there is, where do you think these other ones come from? If you say that there is but one God, if you believe the Bible, and that's what the Bible says, then where did the other gods come from? God didn't bring them up. Every god that is not God, Satan has spawned to trap men. And don't tell me that I need to be tolerant to that. Today they're even the stuff that they're even prescribing us that's supposed to be helping us is killing us. You notice that. But read the prophecies of soon coming of the Lord, and everything. The beast of the earth starts killing man, and there's pestilences and all this. I saw the other day, we having floods and stuff across America and earthquakes. I saw the other day where there was 1,000 people dead in India and Bangladesh from floods last week, and 1 million uprooted. See, the earth is in travail, folks. It's dying. Where will you be where will you be, and what will be the condition of your soul when that angel steps out and says enough and time stops? That's the question we need to be asking. And we need to be, look, I'm not afraid to challenge folks on the evidence of Jesus and what this truth is. A lot of folks don't want any challenge at all. But hey, if you will take the evidence, folks, it'll make it plain. This book will prove itself. You see, Jesus came along, and folks, there's a lot of people today that still today, 2,000 years later, that says, oh, he was a good man or he was a prophet, but he wasn't the Son of God. Well, look at the evidence. Amen. He came. The prophets told him exactly when he was coming, exactly what tribe he'd be in, exactly what he would teach and what he would do. They told the exact time of his crucifixion and of his resurrection. And hey, it happened. Just like the prophets had foretold. Nobody else has ever showed up on earth that had thousands of years of documentation backing him up. Amen. Just Jesus. And let me tell you something else, folks. He arose, and those folks that saw him arise, that knew he was alive, was willing for their whole family to be killed rather than them to deny him. They went to their death holding on to him. Went to their death saying, I seen him alive. Folks, people will die for what they believe is right. Who's going to die for what they know is wrong? No, this was not a cunningly devised fable, folks. This was the truth of God. And the same Jesus, who else do you know that 2,000 years after he's been gone can still change your life in a heartbeat? Who else? Who else? But see, that even for him to change that life, it has to be a spirit commitment. It can't be a head thing. And that's where we've got off at. So many folks gets it right here and never gets it right here. I heard a preacher preach one time. He said, a lot of folks will wind up in hell. They'll miss heaven by 18 inches, the distance between the brain and the heart. They'll get Jesus in the life, or in the heart and the soul, folks. But it is time that we chose. Make sure of the choice that we make, who we're going to serve. If we're going to serve Jesus, then let's just serve him so the world can see. If we're going to serve the devil, let's get Jesus' name out of it. Because there is more damage done from the inside of the church out than the people out in the world could ever do. Because you ever heard this? I'm sure most everybody here. if he's a Christian, the woods is full of them. You know what? Because somebody, that came about when somebody said, I'm a Christian. And then the world looked at him and could see no change. There ought to be a change, folks. There ought to be a change. You know, in the Bible, after Jesus died and the apostles was going about preaching, the Bible said they took note that they'd been with Jesus. Hey, they said, hey, these are different men. And the reason they're different, I remember them being with a guy they called Jesus. People ought to look at our lives and say, hey, they've been with Jesus. Jesus has said this in Matthew 11 and 28 through 30. He said, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. You see that? Come to me, and I'll give you rest. The reason that you see so many folks in and out, up and down, sideways, is they never find that rest. Because you can get real religious and never find the rest in Jesus. Jesus said to find the rest in him, you had to take the yoke upon you. You know what a yoke is? Most of y'all probably don't, especially the younger crew. But back when I was a kid, there was folks that would use steers to plow. And they'd put this wooden yoke on them and hook ropes to it, and they could turn him. With this thing around his neck, he didn't go where he wanted to go. He went to whoever had the guide ropes, he went the way they pulled, see? And so that's what Jesus is saying. If you're going to find rest in me, then put my yoke on. Let me guide you. Let me show you the way. But see, just wanting to go to heaven is not enough to get us to heaven. If people could go to heaven their way, everybody'd go. But there ain't but one way there. He is the way, he is the truth, and he is the life, and no man comes to the Father but by him. Well, you know, Brother Jerry, what if you're wrong? What if I'm right? And I assure you that I am by this word right here. And it's like I said, those people in Jesus' day that walked with him saw his miracles. Now, the miracles didn't make Jesus who he was. The Word made him who he was. And today, me and Bo were talking about it a while ago, so many people are rushing to find out to the sign. Wherever there's a sign that looks like maybe God did it, folks will fly over there. It don't make no difference what they're teaching. Let me tell you something, folks. It doesn't matter if they call fire down from heaven. If it doesn't line up with this, walk on. If it doesn't exalt Jesus as Lord, walk on. It's time that we're sold out to the point to where, all these things doesn't move us. The Bible tells us that the devil, as the roaring lion, is walking about seeking whom he may devour. That should show us that there's some he can't devour. And you ought to be too tough to eat by now. And this word will get you settled if you'll listen to it, if you'll walk in it, if you'll put on that yoke and let Jesus guide us. And thank God for all that he is. And let me tell you something. You can find Jesus' people everywhere. And you can find the devil's people everywhere. You can find them in the church. You can find them at Walmart, the great little shopping place. I have found Jesus people in Walmart. Matter of fact, we've had some good services in Walmart. You know, folks talking about how people come dressed to church. Well, you ought to go to Walmart and see how they come dressed. But you know what? It doesn't make any difference about how they come dressed. If you get stirred up with Jesus in there, you'll get some joy flowing. You'll get some things going on. I mean, I just ran into a couple one time, and I didn't got to the point where I was afraid he's going to run us out of there. We'd been there so long in the aisle. I didn't know him. He didn't know me. But immediately, we both knew we were family people. You should know that. You should know that. Well, what a great and precious promise it is, folks, that if we put his yoke on us, he'll give us rest. That means peace and not always anxious. Hey, folks, we ought not be worried about the same thing the world's worried about. Should we? You know, faith will take care of worry, won't it? Yeah, we're concerned about some things. In the natural, we do. But turn it to him. Give it to him. Because he loves you, folks. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to let you go. Too many folks is walking away from what they've heard, walking away from the truth of God because they never really found that rest. But whatever you sell Jesus out for, you sold out way too cheap. Way too cheap. Judas thought 30 pieces of silver was enough. And wasn't nowhere close. He wound up killing himself over 30 pieces of silver. But he sold him out for 30 pieces of silver. A lot of folks sells him out for a lot less. But the thing, where we're at right now, they don't even count it selling him out. Hey, I'm not selling him out. I'm still believing in Jesus. Well, are you still walking after him? Are you still being the witness? Am I still the witness for him? And you know, we have to be that witness regardless of what circumstance we find ourselves in. You know what? It'd have been the easiest thing in the world in the physical when I had this stroke, because I'm short of breath. I can't get the next breath real good. I'm not walking good. I don't talk just exactly right yet. It's been real easy in the flesh to say, well, you can't do this. But you know what? He didn't say stop. So whatever our circumstances is, just praise Jesus there. All right? But the natural man, folks, the Bible tells us the natural man cannot understand the things of the Spirit of God. And you know what? Until we find that rest in Jesus, until we allow our spirit to be captured by His, we try to figure things out in our head, and it doesn't make sense a lot of times. A lot of times. That's the reason folks will say this, things like this. Heard it 2 or 3 times this week. Well, no matter what happens, God is in control. And folks, if you believe that, then God's in control of murdering 60 million babies in the womb. If you believe God's in control, just up there in control, we can throw our law books out the window because, hey, it's His fault. You can't charge God with it. It's His fault. But now God is in control to the point that you let Him be in control. Because He gave you control. He gave me control. He gave us dominion, folks. You make the choice. It's just like Elijah. He said, hey, choose you. How long are you going to hang up between those two opinions? But choose you who you're going to serve. And I guarantee you, that's where you find your peace. It's when you really choose Jesus. Really choose. It's not a religious thing, folks. It's a spirit thing. And boy, we got in trouble when we tried to throw Jesus into a religion. And we call Christianity a religion. The Christian religion. No, it's not. Not true Christianity. True Christianity is Jesus' truth, period. See, religion means that you believe in a God. But true Christianity means you sold out to the God. So this morning we need to make sure where we stand this day. Some of us may not be here next week. I don't know. Like I said, I can't see this road of life that I'm traveling. That's the reason I have to hold on to Jesus. I don't know when my time will be up on earth. And you probably don't know either when yours will be up. But let me go out praising Him. This morning is the time of our choice. And thank God for every one of you who have chose Jesus, who have made it known that Jesus is your Lord. I believe that's Kenneth Copeland's slogan, Jesus is Lord. Folks, keep that in your spirit and on your tongue. Jesus is Lord. I don't care what the devil is throwing up out there. Jesus is Lord. So this morning, where are you at with Him? Are you at rest in your soul? When you lay down at night, do you worry about, if I don't wake up in the morning, where will I wake up? What eternity will I be in? We need to check that. We need to check the evidence of our life. We need to look further ahead than what the devil's showing you today. Where is this going to lead me to? I see teenagers out there wasting their life because they don't look far enough ahead to see where it's leading me to. Hey, it feels good now. You know, give me another shot of that dope. Give me another bottle of that whiskey. Give me another thrill, another good time. But they never look to see where's this going to end at? Where's this going to have me in 20 years if I live? Where's this going to have me next week? You know, you see these folks, they'll go out there because the devil talks them into getting all these face piercing and all that. And then they holler because nobody will hire them. I saw one the other day and had all kind of things sticking out of his face. And he said, because of Trump, I can't get a job. It looked like he'd been in a terrible accident and, explosion and got stuff stuck in him. I mean, there was stuff sticking out everywhere. But see, The devil talks folks into stuff like that, never showing them that down the line it's going to hurt you. It's going to catch up to you. See? And am I up here talking about tattoos and all this good stuff? No. It's about the spirit. But I'm going to tell you what. There is earthly consequences for things that we do here. But the devil don't want to show you that either. You know, if you're out there on drugs, where's that going to lead you? Where are you going to be in 20, 30 years? What job are they going to offer you when they find out that your background is a drug background? But Jesus can take care of that too. And all sin, I'm not condemning anybody. All sin is sin. And the Savior is enough to take care of all of it. He did not bring us a halfway salvation. I don't care what you have done, and he don't either. If you come to him, he will forgive you, and he'll make a new creature out of you if you will let him. He said, behold, he could make all things new, and he's going to out here, but you better be made new with it. You better be made new with it. I hope everybody in here this morning is saved. I love you, and Jesus loves you. But if you're not saved, or if you're not sure you're saved, if you look and you find out, if you check your life and you find out, I'm not where I used to be, God hadn't moved. God hadn't moved. I guarantee you, he's still right where you left him. And like I said, Jesus, the word of Jesus was, come unto me. Come unto me. And he said, those that come unto him, he would in no wise cast out. So how is it with you this morning? You need the church to pray with you about something. Folks, the things that, I know that I'm not the greatest speaker in the world, especially not right now. But the things that I told you this morning are the truth. And you'll face them again one day. If you don't make the choice for Jesus, you'll face them again one day. And you'll remember that somebody told you to choose. You'll remember that the Lord said, come. The worst thing I believe in judgment will be those who passed through the truth and just kept walking. Knowing, hey, I could have had it all, but I chose the temporary and kicked out the eternal. See? Anything that you see here, folks, we know it, but we don't think about it. If you can experience it with the five senses, it's not going to last eternally. Look around. Look around. Everybody's sitting here. One day, if the Lord tarries, none of us will be here. If he tarries, death will catch all of us in his bodies. But life can, the eternal life is yours and can never be taken if you know Jesus. But time will change, folks. Things will change. And everything that you see here is temporary. One day you'll wake up without it. But if you will let Jesus into your heart and into your life, you will never wake up without him again. He ain't gonna leave you. And he knows what you've done, and he knows what you're doing. I got a song called Jesus Knew Your Story Before Your Story Was Told. So you ain't got too bad that Jesus won't forgive you. And you ain't got so good that you don't need him. That's all I got. What about you? What about you now?